And now they go and they tour the world, and there's nothing better to bring people together. And you might have said, you know, a lot of the middle class, like in America, white people, they've heard of apartheid and they've heard of South. They don't know anything about it. It's far away, to hell with it. But then you see these people in the flesh and feel that powerful music that they have, and then it makes you realize, hey, it's people down there getting hurt. People are being oppressed. It's very important. And then he was criticized because he broke the ban on South Africa. So that's a two-sided thing, and it gets real complicated. You know, I don't really do that. You know, I'm not out there dealing with those hardcore political issues. He found himself in the middle of a very hot controversy. You know, but whatever your attitude is, it's a great thing that now people are aware who were never before aware of, you know, those people. Because that African stuff was, of course, hidden from view. You know, it was like you couldn't hear it, you couldn't see it. So.
What is the importance of lyrics within your music?
Well, it's a very important element in a song.
And just phonetically, or in terms of the actual?
Well, and phonetically, of course, because, you know, language is a kind of a sound. The sound of words are really can be very meaningful. Just how they come at you, you know. Also, the imagery is and the music and the imagery together make, you know, combine to make. That's why people love songs. They combine to make a whole. So you have pieces, elements, and it combines and makes a whole thing, and then you receive a lot of, you know. See, I think I love instrumentals, but I really love songs. You see, because once in a while you get a statement in 2 or 3 lines in a song. It can be so illuminating, you know. It's very powerful, and we all know that that's the kind of thing that stays with you. You know, you can read a whole book, but you can see 2 lines in a song that you'll never forget, you know. And there's plenty of examples of that. It's a powerful statement when it's good. So it's very important. Very important. You know.
So considering that that outlook on lyrics that you have, I suppose when approaching work such as a soundtrack, which you did quite a bit of during the 5-year period before the most recent record, it's a much different process.
Yeah, because the images are like, instead of lyrics, you have images.
They're there.
Yeah. In a different way, in a subliminal way, you have the language of just the visual aspect of the film, the story, and then what's underneath the story. If it's a good film, it has levels of me, and for people, it's very illuminating because they see more than they hear. So the music and the imagery goes together and makes a brand new unit, you know, for everybody. And it's like actually illustrating the music, and the music helps to amplify the story. You know, it's a great thing.
You talked about your approach to music as being a form of experimenting as opposed to innovating. Let me get the second part. All right, it's in the corner. Do you think the way you go about pursuing a soundtrack is the same as going, trying to create like a Hawaiian music, or trying to pursue another genre of music? Is it the same thing to you? Is it all experimental?
Making the soundtracks is an experiment because you never know exactly what it is. There's no one. Well, sometimes there's only one answer, but there's no rules. They teach sound scoring, film scoring in school, and they teach you things like, if somebody runs upstairs, the music has to do this, you know? Or if somebody's chasing somebody, you need to use this click, dunk, 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 that's your tempo. But I don't really know anything about that, see? So I don't have anybody with a rule book. So because I don't have to worry about knowing what the rules are, I wish I knew some more about it, but since I don't, I make it up. I have to just make it up out of nowhere, and it's like, it's an experiment all the time. You never know what's going to work until you try it. It's interesting. It's like, I always say, it's like, you know, prospecting, looking for gold or something. Chip, 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 and there you find something. It's interesting.
I think that what you learned through making soundtracks over the past several years is reflected in the record here at all?
Well, the only thing about it, the reason for the record really came from the idea that we had been playing together for so long, me and the musicians, And after all the soundtrack work, it seemed to be getting better as an ensemble. As a group, we had more of this communication from doing all this intensive soundtrack work and from just years of playing. It reached that level where all the elements seemed to come together and make a real organic kind of centered thing. And I thought, well, let's go perform. So I went out and did some shows, and it seemed to be really happening. All these things I had tried to do for years and years, like with the accordion and the, and this and that and the other thing, was happening. It was actually taking place as though everybody knew. Didn't need me to tell anybody. Now do this, now do that. It had gotten beyond that point. So I thought, well, it sounds terrific. Why don't we just make a record of it? So one thing follows another, and I thought, well, it's almost obsolete for a group to go in and play. Only Los Lobos and a few people are doing it this way, but let's just do it because we're old-timers and we know how to do it. You see, it's not about like, what's my next hit single? I mean, it's not quite like that. We just went in and played. And some of the stuff we didn't know what it was, and then, a couple of the tunes just happened on the spot. Which I like that. If it's energetic and it sounds like fun, then put it on the record, is my theory. I can't worry anymore about whether the radio will play it. They won't play it anyhow, so I want to enjoy something. I want to have something at least it's fun to listen to. It's got some punch, and it shows where we are as a group, sort of, which is a worthwhile thing. We've all been playing, some of us together, for almost 20 years, so it's worthwhile.
You talked about making this record because all the pieces kind of fell into place. It seems to feature a much more clear-cut beat than your previous stuff. Is that simply because it was a full band that just went in the studio and cut the...
Yeah, maybe. We'd been on stage and hitting it, like you do on stage.
Yeah.
You kind of really, you strike up the band, as it were. And you kind of go for it. So I thought, that's good. That's energy. Let's go in the studio and just do that. And really try to go for the energy, and that's all that's left to do. I'm not trying to make art records or careful records or very precise little, like an Army of Mice kind of records. I'm trying to get in there and just whack one out and see what happens. Just give them, as the Hawaiians say. For me, that's the only thing that makes a record interesting. Because without that, I'm bored to death. And we would play a tune, and if it seemed that it lacked energy, just throw it out and start another one. Or if somebody was hitting a good lick, I thought, well, this is a song, let's make a song out of it, and then 5 minutes later see what we have. And it's an enjoyable experience, keeps everybody on their toes, you see, I think.
What's an Army of Mice records?
An Army of Mice records is like a typical pop record where everything is so utterly careful, it's a million bunch of little sounds.
Like a surgeon put it together.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, kind of like a real elegant Frankenstein sort of, where everything is perfectly sewn together and it's just so perfect, That's all right for somebody else, but I got no business trying to do that.
Is that right? That might be interesting.
I don't know how to do it.
Okay.
I play so sloppy, it's so rough, that it should be what it is and not. You shouldn't make, in other words, what they used to say about a sow's ear into a silk purse. I mean, you just shouldn't be doing it. You should do what you do. Why be somebody else at this point in time? Yeah, I'm pretty much older now. I ought to go with what I know or forget it, I think. Why be Lionel Richie? Let him be Lionel Richie. Yeah.
Seems like Bop to the Drop was sort of a crescendo following the chicken skin music, jazz, and the Hawaiian record, he says. And he says in the same way, this one seems to be a sort of a crescendo following your foray into the world of soundtracks. I don't know if you call it a crescendo or a backlash, personal backlash. Do you see it in that way at all?
No. The funny thing about making records, the way I go about it, we just play the way we played that day almost. I take the group into the studio. It's what does anybody feel like? If the drummer's in good shape and he's feeling good, we get a good day. I mean, the next day all those tunes might sound entirely different. Who knows? But this kind of music, it really comes off the top of your head. And naturally ideas develop. I mean, your ability to do them. I think I'm in way better shape to do all of this music than I was 5-10 years ago, but that's the whole point. You get better as you go along. What are you going to do, though? You have to make records. Call it a record because you wouldn't get together otherwise. See, work is what brings people together. So you go to somebody and you say, well, let's just jam. Well, that's a waste of time. You say, let's make a record. You focus people's attention. That's what I've always used these records for. They're like focusing everybody together for a moment. But well, that's a very important element in the song.
And just phonetically, or in terms of the actual?
Well, and phonetically, of course, because language is a kind of a sound. The sound of words are really can be very meaningful, just in the flesh, and feel that powerful music that they have, and then it makes you realize, hey, it's people down there getting hurt, people are being oppressed. It's very important. And then he was criticized because he broke the ban on South Africa. So that's a two-sided thing, and it gets real complicated. I don't really do that. I'm not out there dealing with those hardcore political issues. He found himself in the middle of a very hot controversy. But whatever your attitude is, it's a great thing that now people are aware. And now they go and they tour the world, and there's nothing better to bring people together. And you might have said, a lot of the middle class, like in America, white people, they've heard of apartheid and they've heard of South. They don't know anything about it. It's far away, to hell with it. But then you see these people who were never before aware of, those people. Because that African stuff was, of course, hidden from view. It was like you couldn't hear it, you couldn't see it. So.
What is the importance of lyrics within your music?